We're live.
Welcome to the CLE group chat. Today is November 4th, 2017. With us from Indiana, we have Tanya. Also from Indiana, we have Christopher, who started this church, Jeannie from Australia, and my name's Joshua. I should mention we are only allowing our church group to be on the video call, but you can watch and you can use the live chat box or even share this video with family and friends to watch it with you live. And if you're watching recording and would like to watch it as it happens, make sure you're subscribed, click the bell, and that should notify you when we're live. So without further ado, an article from the Washington Post titled, "Trump's temporary disappearance from Twitter was very scary. Here's why." For 11 minutes on Thursday evening, Donald Trump did not exist, or at least that's what his Twitter page said. Twitter first attributed the temporary deletion of the president's feed to human error. As it turned out, that was only half right. An employee, presumably not a Trump supporter, on their last day on the site staff, decided to go out in style by expelling the commander-in-chief. To many who call these hundreds of seconds the happiest of their lives, this customer support representative was a hero. To the president, tweeting again the next morning, it was a sign that the word must finally be getting out and having an impact. That's Trump. Trump said that. Finally, it shouldn't be news to Trump that most Americans see his Twitter feed as the easiest way for the world to know what the president is really thinking every day. To his critics, that's worrisome. To his fans, it's reassuring. There's no fake news media to prevent the president from getting out his message. As Trump, yeah?
Okay, how can they post what the president is really thinking when they have staff members that post those Twitter feeds for him? That's an outright lie right there. I don't follow Trump personally on Twitter. I don't follow Twitter all that often, but that's just crazy. That's an outright lie right there.
They'll do some investigation, find out it wasn't a bug, that the 11 minutes he was meeting with Monica Lewinsky.
To his fans, it's reassuring. There's no fake news media to prevent the president from getting out his message. As Trump himself has said, when I use what has turned out to be my very powerful social media, I can go around them. And that's what makes the 11 minutes of Trump-less Twitter so terrifying. A single employee was able to click the leader of the free world's unfiltered channel to its inhabitants into non-existence. With his tweets, Trump has provoked North Korea's Kim Jong-un into vowing to tame the deranged U.S. dotard with fire. He has caused stocks to drop. Thankfully, the Twitter prankster decided to take down the president's account rather than use it to challenge Kim to a nuclear duel. But he could have chosen differently, and countless hackers who have no trouble finding their way into other celebrities' accounts might not be so circumspect. Twitter isn't treating Trump's account like anyone else's, and in some cases, the site has been called out for it. When commentators called for a suspension from the site for tweets about North Korea that violated terms of service, forbidding violent threats and wishes for the physical harm, death, or disease of individuals or groups, Twitter begged off on grounds of newsworthiness. But when it comes to the account security, Twitter hasn't been so transparent. Observers have been...
But that's not... I mean, you can't argue against that. The decision Twitter made to consider a news feed is correct based on what Tanya just said. You think about that. These are not the personal thoughts of Trump. This is his staff reporting what's going on. So it's a news feed.
But when it comes to the account's security, Twitter hasn't been so transparent. Observers have been speculating about what measure the site may be undertaking to protect what a bad actor could use as a weapon of mass destruction. And Thursday's incident offers an answer. Not much. That's a huge security risk, and Twitter's executives will have to show its users they're prepared to do something about it. While they're at it, they should take a broader look at what Thursday's events tell them. It's not only Trump who relies on Twitter, it's all of us. The employee who decided to take Trump off the web set the conversation topic for a whole country for an evening. But Twitter's other employees do the same thing every day when they regulate which content does and does not have its place on their platform. From Russian propaganda to false news stories to harassment and hate speech, Thursday's short-lived shutdown was yet another sign that Twitter has great power. Now comes the responsibility part. End of article.
Yeah, what really scares me about that is what they consider hate speech. I mean, it seems to me that it's okay for some people to, you know, like the Antifa group or the social justice warriors, to spout their hate and rhetoric and racism, sexism, which they claim is not racist or sexist. But you know, it's getting increasingly difficult for anybody to post any sort of biblical message because that's offensive to people.
And the next article is also from the Washington Post. A model decided to tattoo her eyeball. She's now partially blind and in excruciating pain. Purple.
And
what was that?
People can find me insulting. Amen to that. What a wonderful testimony and lesson for people not to do stupid things in the future. I think she's going to be a great testimony to a lot of people.
Purple is Kat Gallinger's favorite color. Pictures of the Canadian model often showed her sporting purple hair or purple lipstick, or the purple tinge of her numerous tattoos peeking out from beneath a tank top. So when the already heavily inked Ottawa resident had the opportunity to tattoo her eyeball, a procedure called sclera staining, in which ink is injected into the white part of the eye, she chose the color purple. Sclera staining can result in a startling tint of the eye, a visual effect that has gained popularity recently among those who practice extreme body modification. But for Gallinger, something went horribly wrong. The day of the procedure, purple ink oozed out of her eye and trickled down her cheek. The next day, the eye was swollen shut and eventually became painfully infected. 3 weeks later, the internal swelling remained, and doctors told her she was at risk of going permanently blind in the affected eye. Gallinger began posting public...
I'm sorry, I thought the doctors were going to say, man, we've diagnosed you with permanent stupidity. There's nothing more we can do for you.
Gallinger began posting public Facebook updates about her eye on September 20 to warn others against the procedure. But then by then she said she had visited the hospital several times and had been prescribed a slew of antibiotic and steroidal eye drops to reduce inflammation.
See, I know what other people watching this would say. They'd be like, well, all you guys are making fun and laughing at all this when somebody's lost their eye. We're not laughing at somebody losing their eye. We're laughing at why she lost her eye. If somebody had snuck up behind her and, stabbed her in the eyeball with a syringe, God forbid, we would not be laughing, okay? Because that's horrible. But she chose to do this. So there's not much else to say.
Rick just said we should add that term to the DSM, your comment about permanent stupidity.
Gallinger began posting public Facebook updates about her eye on September 20 to warn others against the procedure. By then, she said she had visited the hospital several times and had been... Oh, I just read that. My bad. But yeah, I'll just read it. By then, she said she had visited the hospital several times and had been prescribed a slew of antibiotic and steroidal eye drops to reduce inflammation. Her vision in that eye had blurred and showed no signs of improving, she added. There are multiple people who can attest that my aftercare was good and any other part of what I am saying, Gallinger wrote. I am not sharing this with you to cause trouble. I'm sharing this to warn you to research who you get your procedure by, as well as how the procedure should be done properly. In later updates and comments, Gallinger accused the person who had tattooed her eyeball of misstating his qualifications and training, and said she planned on taking legal action. The procedure was done by someone who told me they were experienced, Gallinger said in a subsequent video. It is my fault that I believed him. It is my fault that I gave in when they repetitively asked me to do my eye. Gallinger identified the person as her then boyfriend, a body modification artist. She already has about 25 tattoos on her body and has undergone another risky procedure to split her tongue to make it appear forked. So Gallinger said getting a sclera tattoo seemed like the next step. But Gallinger hadn't done enough research and gave in too soon to pressure from her boyfriend, she said.
Why doesn't she just go all out and dye all of her skin permanently, dye all of her skin purple instead of getting all these tattoos? Just get it all done at once.
Josh, you need to turn on your microphone.
Thank you. Thank you. My bad. During the procedure, Gallinger said he made many errors. He did not mix the ink with any saline. He used a large needle instead of a small one, which went too deep into the eye. And instead of doing several small dosages, Gallinger just took one large injection during a 10-minute sitting. Neither Gallinger nor the person she named as having done the procedure responded to interview requests from the Post on Saturday. In her latest update, Gallinger tearfully described the pain as excruciating and hoped to undergo surgery in the next week to remove excess ink from her eye. Today has been a very painful day for my eye, she said Friday. In a lot of points, it's been pretty excruciating. It feels like having things stabbed in it again. Body modification procedures, sometimes referred to as body mods, include anything that changes one's autonomy or appearance, from piercings to foot binding. Body tattoos and ear piercings are perhaps the most common forms of body modifications, but in recent years, more extreme procedures, such as tongue splitting and, yes, eyeball tattooing, have taken hold.
I can tell you firsthand, I've had eye surgery. And while it was supposed to help my vision, it's still considered elective because anything to do with your eyes is really extremely dangerous. I mean, they can make one little incision too long and ruin your eyesight permanently. And for somebody to choose to do something like that, they've got to be out of their minds. I'm sorry, but they've got to be demon possessed or crazy or both.
The American Academy of Ophthalmology strongly recommends against sclera tattooing, noting risks such as blindness or worse. The medical organization documented a case earlier this year in which a 24-year-old man had to have an eye removed after a scleral tattoo gone wrong. Putting any kind of needle on the eye is very dangerous, Philip Rizzuto, an AAO spokesman, told USA Today. We do that all the time, but we're trained for 12 to 18 years how to go about treating the eye. Luna Cobra, an Australian body modification artist, claims to have invented sclera staining about a decade ago. Even he has a warning on his website against getting the procedure done by copycats. I personally have not trained anyone else to do this procedure. I have appeared on various TV news segments, though I have and have inspired many copycats worldwide, he wrote. This is important to know because without the proper education, training, experience, and guidance, these practitioners have caused vision impairments like blurred vision, spots or floaters, and even blindness. Yes, people are now blind from eyeball tattooing. On Facebook, Gallinger said she had been in contact with Luna Cobra since her ordeal, and though she said she respected him, added she had no plans to undergo the procedure ever again. Just please be cautious who you get your mods from and do your research, Gallinger wrote. I don't want this to happen to anyone else.
Really? So her unwillingness to try the procedure again obviously has nothing to do with how many eyeballs she has.
And the next article, again from the Washington Post, titled Doctor Fights to Regain License Lost to Lacks Computer Skills. Holding manila folders filled with pages of her handwritten reports, Dr. Anna Konopka insisted her system for keeping track of her patients' medical conditions and various prescriptions works fine. But the New Hampshire Board of Medicine disagrees. It is challenging the 84-year-old New London physician's record-keeping, prescribing practices, and medical decision-making. Part of their concern is her remedial computer skills, which prevent her from accessing this. Oh.
Remedial.
Thank you. Thank you. Which prevent her from accessing and using the state's mandatory electronic drug monitoring program. The program, which the state signed onto in 2014, requires prescribers of opioids to register in an effort to reduce overdoses. Konopka surrendered her license last month and went to court Friday in an effort to regain it. Konopka doesn't have a computer in her office and doesn't know how to use one. 2 file cabinets in a tiny waiting room inside a 160-year-old clapboard house hold most of her patients. Sorry, I'm going to try that again. 2 file cabinets in a tiny waiting room inside a 160-year-old clapboard house hold most of her patients' records. Hold most of her patients' records, my bad. The only sign of technology in the waiting room is a landline telephone on her desk. The problem now is that I'm not doing certain things on computers, said Konopka, who immigrated from Poland in 1961 and has decorated her office with family photos and symbols from her homeland. I have to learn that. It's time-consuming. I have no time. According to the state...
I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, if she can keep records manually, which people did for hundreds of years before computers were invented, why is that a problem? I mean, paper records are a lot more secure than electronic ones because nobody can hack into them unless they physically break into your house and steal them.
And according to the state, the allegations against Konopka started with a complaint about her treatment of a 7-year-old patient with asthma. She's been accused of leaving dosing levels of MUD medication up to the parents and failing to treat the patient with daily inhaled steroids. Konopka, who agreed to a board reprimand in May, said she never harmed the patient and the issue was that the boy's mother disregarded her instructions. 4 more complaints have since been filed against Konopka. The board in September voted to move forward with a disciplinary hearing on those complaints. But before the hearing was held, Konopka agreed in October to give up her license, something she said she was forced to do. Konopka has built a loyal following in New London, population 4,400, and surrounding towns because she brings a personal touch that is attractive to patients weary of battling big hospitals and inattentive doctors. She often attracts patients who have run out of options, many with complicated conditions such as chronic pain. She also draws patients who have no insurance and little means to pay. She takes anyone willing to pay her $50 in cash. I'm interested in helping people. I didn't go into medicine for money, and I didn't make money, she said, noting she works alone and can't afford things like an administration's assistant or even a nurse. Her ongoing fight with the state has prompted scores of patients to write letters on her behalf and call her repeatedly to check on her case. Several of Konopka's patients attended Friday's hearing, some admitting they had struggled since she stopped seeing them. It stinks, but you have to find a new doctor, and it's a rat race, said Stanley Wright, who saw Konopka the past year for chronic back pain. The doctor I had before was over-medicating me, and she gives me a lot of herbal stuff, and I was doing a lot better. Now I'm back to being sick. I don't know what to do. At the hearing, Konopka told Merrick Superior Court Judge John Kissinger that her inability to practice is putting her patients at risk because they are having a hard time finding another physician and getting drug prescriptions. If I close my office, they will be without medical care, she told the court. Some of them need medications. Who will prescribe for them if I don't have a license? I worry what will happen to them. Kissinger did not rule Friday on Konopka's request. Assistant Attorney General Lynn Cusack said Konopka's request should be denied, arguing the doctor has been given plenty of time to close her practice and help patients find other doctors. She also said Konopka hasn't provided any evidence she was forced to give up her license. If she wants to get her license back, Cusack said, Konopka could file for reconsideration with the Board of Medicine.
Did you say she was 84?
Yes, 84 years old. Yes, you're right. You're correct.
That's pretty admirable that she's still willing and able to work.
Yeah. I'm looking.
I know my mom was an RN, and she just turned 84, but she kept her license for a long time after she quit working. I think she just gave it up a few years ago.
I have another article here from Fox News. And it's titled, Christian Woman Sues Mississippi Restaurant Over Dress Code. A Mississippi restaurant chain, Georgia Blue, is being sued. Yeah?
Are you saying, did it say Christian woman?
Yes. Christian.
First of all, who is suing a restaurant who has the right to have any dress code they want. Was she held at gunpoint and made to go to that restaurant and eat there? Was that the case? Is that what we're about to hear? No. Okay.
Yeah. Mississippi restaurant chain Georgia Blue is being sued for failing to accommodate a server's religious requests. In October 2015, Katoa Watkins was hired to work as a waitress by the eatery. It was after she received the job offer that Watkins, a devout apostolic Pentecostal Christian, learned of Georgia Blue's dress code requiring servers to wear blue jeans. Watkins does not wear blue pants because of her religion. After accepting the job offer, Watkins notified Georgia Blue of her apostolic Pentecostal religious belief that women should wear only skirts or dresses and requested the reasonable accommodation of wearing a blue skirt. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, alleges in a lawsuit filed Monday. After she reached out,
that could depend on a lot of things. See, without us actually being able to see the restaurant, the skirt itself could be a hazard. Like it could be a safety hazard depending on how the restaurant's set up. So if for people who haven't worked in restaurants, perhaps you don't understand, but going back and forth between a kitchen and throughout the entire dining area, a skirt, depending on how loosely fitted it is, can get snagged on all sorts of things and cause not just property damage, but bodily harm, not only to the server, but to other people around her. So the blue jeans are not there because, hey, we at this restaurant really want to accentuate everyone's hips. That's not the reason they did it. They did it as a safety reason, I can almost guarantee you. And the blue jeans are probably also a certain color for dress code that they have. So they do that for everyone's safety, end of discussion. Now, it's not an unreasonable request to be able to wear a skirt, but for safety reasons, you can't always do that. So if she doesn't like their dress code, then find somewhere else to work. Yeah. It's real simple.
After she reached out to the company about her dress code needs, Watkins said she received no response and reported to work in a jean skirt. She was sent home for the violation, the Associated Press reports. According to the suit, the restaurant, which has several locations around Mississippi, later denied Watkins' request and told her the owner would not stray away from the company dress code. Watkins' job offer was then resigned. Under federal law, employers have a duty to provide an accommodation to allow an employee to practice his or her religion when the employer can do so without undue hardship on the operation of the company. Franklin Thomas, District Director of the EEOC's Birmingham District Office, said, "Most religious accommodations are not burdensome, such as allowing an employee to wear a skirt instead of pants," said EEOC Birmingham Regional Attorney Marcia L. Rucker, whose jurisdiction includes Mississippi. "It would have been simple to allow Miss Watkins to wear a long skirt at work. No worker should be obligated to choose between making a living and following her religious convictions." The alleged conduct violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which requires employers to provide reasonable religious accommodations to employees, the suit states. J. William Daniel, a lawyer for Georgia Blue, released a statement yesterday denying that the company discriminated against Watkins' Pentecostal religious beliefs. The company does not discriminate on any basis, Daniel said.
Discrimination would require you saying, we don't like that religion, therefore we're not going to accommodate. That's not what they did. They said they're not, swaying on the dress code. Now, they could have just said, we're not swaying on the dress code because this is the standard dress code and we're not changing it, period. And they would still, it's not like them having a dress code is not violating whatever. What was the religious belief?
Pentecostal.
Okay. It's not, okay, this restaurant has this dress code, therefore Pentecostals are threatened, just because of the existence of the dress code.
Well, and the irony is that they don't cut their hair. So honestly, if she didn't have her hair up and bound, that's more of a hazard than a skirt.
Did they say anything about the hair? Did I miss that?
No, they didn't.
Why are we bringing up the hair?
Because the skirt really is so minor that it's.
Why are we?
Well,
I see it as an issue.
Around some kind of
okay. Everybody, one person talking at a time, please. Who's going first?
Okay, I was just going to say that, you know, most of the women, especially the older ones, do keep their hair bound up in a bun or something like that.
Because they wouldn't discriminate her about her hair. But because the dress, they're allowed to say what you can wear, but they're not going to, you know, care about her hair unless it's in the food.
Yeah, but at the same time, see, I don't know. The hair thing doesn't matter. I just don't think that's the issue here. I'm just saying that whether or not they had a dress code there is no effect on the Pentecostal church. That's the point. Like they didn't make the dress code like okay, how do I describe this? What's a good example I can give? Let's say man, I'm sorry. This is sudden. If I had like 5 minutes, I could probably think of a really good example and bring it up. But right now, for some reason, I can't concentrate. This whole hair thing. I don't know why we brought that up. I'm now flustered. Getting back to my point, it's just that all the company even has to do, even if the government has a problem with saying, well, that dress code, that's a little questionable. You can say, look, it's a safety issue. Okay, done. I mean, it's thrown out. I mean, they're not going to sit here and fight over a potentially what do waitresses make now? Maybe $5 an hour or something plus tips.
$3.75 plus tips.
Is it $3.75? It's still that low?
Probably. I don't know.
That's kind of frightening if it still stays that low for waitresses. Anyway, the point is they're not going to.
I haven't waitressed in a few years.
They're not going to sit here and fight over a $4 an hour job. I mean, this is not something to take to the Supreme Court over. And it's not like they purposely made that against Pentecostals. That's the point. So if you don't like how that works, then either leave the job, or a better idea, leave Pentecostalism, and then you don't have to worry about it at all.
And the article continues. Georgia Blue plans to defend itself against a lawsuit which seeks an injunction prohibiting Georgia Blue from discriminating against employees who need religious accommodations, loss, compensatory and punitive damages, and other affirmative relief for Watkins. End of article. And that we're all out of articles. Were there any more thoughts on those? No? All right, then maybe we'll close. All right, so thank you all who have listened to us. If you would like to comment or read comments for the video, you can click the link that will be in the description that takes you to the forum. You could even go on the forum, make an account, and introduce yourself on the introduce yourself section and let us know who we're talking with, and we can get to know us, talk with us, and we're willing. We're going to see you next week.